To give you guys the overview starting off, because there might be some people watching this that aren't familiar with Patchworks or BigCommerce. My name's Will. I manage the tech partnerships at Patchworks. We're a retail first iPaaS. We're an integration platform as a service. So the primary role of our solution is to connect an e-commerce platform to an ERP, to a CRM, to an OMS, to a PIM, to any e-commerce platform that a brand or a retailer is looking to integrate together to allow for bespoke and complex integrations made simple on our no-code, low-code system. So we've partnered with BigCommerce for a very, very long time now, where George and his colleagues and his team, they work with us on unsticking deals, unlocking deals where prospects approach him and they're looking for, or they have complex tech stacks, they have complexity in there, and us at Patchworks, we can help unstick those deals and ultimately help George close the deal faster and better, and result in a better result for a better process and end result for the customer. So that's on me. That's a little bit on Patchworks for those that weren't familiar with us. George, why don't you just give a quick overview to yourself?
Thanks, Will. So yeah, I'm one of the senior account executives here at Commerce. Now we've rebranded halfway through last year, and I lead the conversation from a business and commercial standpoint, and I'll lead the process whenever we're speaking with new prospects. So just going into my third year with the business. So now we are Commerce. So we actually have a suite of solutions. So we have Feedonomics, which is our feed orchestration tool, which we have MakeSwift, which is a content which really supports that content being built on the front end if you go for one of our headless architectures. And then we also have BigCommerce, where we're going to focus most of our time today, and where I spend a lot of my time is around our commerce engine, which enables B2B and B2C brands to sell online.
And there's a couple of customers, or there's a couple of prospects, a couple of opportunities that we've worked on together over the last few months, like I said. And I think it's fair to say that George has absolutely cracked the code on how to work with partners, how to utilize Patchworks, how to use an iPaaS in order to unlock his deals. So what we're going to do really quickly, really casually, is just take each customer in turn. We're not going to mention customer names. We can mention the systems that they're looking to connect into. But ultimately, I'm going to hand over to George to just give us a little bit of a run through of who that customer is, what they were looking for, their pain points, how they worked with Patchworks, how George used Patchworks to his benefit, and then, if we can, a little bit of results and what that customer got out and where that customer is now. So, George, to kick us off, let's just take customer number one. Let's call them business number one. How did conversations start with business number one, and what were they ultimately looking for in that kind of first initial conversation with you guys?
So the way this opportunity came to us, it came from one of our partners, one of our SI partners, our system integrators. So they came to us saying, firstly, I have to give you an overview of the business. It was a B2B brand in Central Europe, and they dealt with everything spare parts, everything from gardening to spare parts for workshops to accessories. And really their current platform, were having a few challenges with it, but it was due a major upgrade. And they were kind of at that crossroads. Do we invest in that platform, or do we look for another solution? And that's when one of our partners came to us with that. And there were a few challenges with their current platform as well.
Okay, awesome. So, I mean, challenges with their current platform, obviously we don't need to get too technical or things like that, but just like kind of top level, what were those current challenges that they were coming to you with?
Yeah, if I kind of maybe start from kind of the business challenge, firstly, they were losing market share, and they were actually, this particular company was part of a wider group, and there was clear metrics set out by the business that they need to get some of that market share back. But just some of their challenges, their current e-com solution wasn't well integrated with their ERP. That means they were duplicating a lot of their efforts. That also can lead to errors. Also, the lack of self-serve capabilities for their customers. So that lack of that self-serve portal meaning that their salespeople are having to take a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails. So that means a high cost to serve of their customers, but also means their customers are going elsewhere as they actually have their experience from their competition, but also additional third-party costs as they were having to spend money on hosting, on maintenance as well. So those are those key challenges for the customer.
What was the initial red flag, and what was kind of the conversation like between you and this prospect of they identify the red flag, you have that light bulb moment of thinking of your partners, which you'll do anyway in your day-to-day conversations, and then how did you ultimately position the Patchworks solution, whether you mentioned us by name or mentioned integration platform or whatever? What was that kind of, take us on that journey of what that conversation was like?
Yeah, so we established with our contact there that once we went through demos, we started to build out a business case that our contact there felt BigCommerce was the right solution. But then we had these other platforms, PIM and ERP, that we had to speak around. It was quite a collaborative chat that we had also with the agency as well. But they were also looking at, they were also looking to scale into new regions within Europe and looking to bring on new tools. So when we actually had that conversation, actually that middleware, that iPaaS was going to be the right fit for them for the long term. Firstly, actually all three of those different, our solution with the two other PIM and ERP, actually getting them well integrated to begin with, that was really key. But it was actually setting them up for success in the future as well if they wanted to add on more of those best of breed tools as well. So speaking with the partner as well, we established that an iPaaS and middleware like yourselves was going to be the right way forward for this customer.
Was the customer aware that iPaaS was kind of the solution to their issue, or did you kind of have to position it from scratch?
Yeah, I think firstly, the agency had a very good relationship with the customer. They'd worked with them for quite a few years. And they were thinking actually that iPaaS solution middleware was definitely the right way forward. And they kind of been positioning that in the background the whole time.
Okay.
So, but then also just the process that we run with our particular contact, our particular champion that we were working with within the business, he was also taking our advice as well, especially from my solution engineer that had worked very closely with them on their requirements. So they were actually thought it was the right way. We'll probably come onto the way I position maybe you guys is that there was another iPaaS solution that might be slightly more well-known within Central Europe. And the agency was maybe mentioning that one. And I said, oh, I think you should also have a conversation with Patchworks as well. Nothing to lose. I think you should have a conversation with them.
So then the next follow-up question to that is the sort of co-selling mechanics of you guys and us. So then walk us through. So there's a competitor in the mix, which potentially the agency is going to involve in that as well. So what's the conversation? What's your process with the Patchworks team of letting them know that this opportunity exists, and then from then on giving them the overview and the info on this opportunity?
Yeah, I think we probably spoke to yourself, and then you involved George. So we had two Georges on the deal. Literally, I gave him all of the information, the background, where we are in the process, the particular pain points, the particular systems. So he got a really good understanding. I set up a call with him and the customer. He brought a solution engineer on the call. And I think just the response from the customer straight after that call was, yes, we want to go with Patchworks. I just think George really listened to what I went through and what our solution engineer went through as well, just gave him the background. And I think he went into that call really well prepped, didn't overcomplicate things, and then went through naturally his bit of his discovery, but then you also showed some of the product as well with the demo all in one call. Absolutely smashed it. And maybe when your competitors probably slightly overcomplicated it, where we were in the process, and you just literally it worked out for them. I think we worked on like the total cost of ownership ready to take to the board, but after that first call, they were totally convinced that you were the guys were the right ones to move forward with.
You obviously brought the deal to me first, but then did you just have one meeting with George to give him the overview? Did you give him any kind of insights of kind of the speed or anything to like be careful of, or what to say or what not to say with this prospect? Or does it feel kind of like quite natural of, hey, George, this is the prospect, this is what they do, I need you to demo this, that, and that, and there's an opportunity in it?
I'd say I literally just gave him I think I just gave him the complete background. Just literally shared. This is the business skills that business case that we built for the customer. These are the particular pain points. These are the systems. They're looking to make a decision by this date. Then the key thing really for us was we were looking, and the concept we were dealing with was very collaborative. It was a nice experience, and we were working with him to actually build that business case, build all of the commercials for the total cost of ownership to take to the board. So you guys are really that cherry on top of the cake. So kind of that final piece of the puzzle that we needed to fill in. So I didn't tell him what to do. I just said, oh, maybe you just don't want to go in there and probably do another really long discovery on top of the information that I've given you. If we can actually condense it down into one call, make it really efficient, I think we can really move this at speed because they're ready to take everything to the board.
From my experience, what I see is that you're running a full-on discovery. If George on our side, if Patchworks is also running a full-on discovery, an hour discovery or sometimes longer, you can kind of see the light go off in the prospect's eye because they're like, are these guys not talking to each other? They're meant to be partners. They've obviously not shared any info. I've just basically given all of my business info to George from Big Commerce. Why has George just not picked up the phone to George from Patchworks and filled them in? So yeah, I think it's a super important point of, as soon as you've identified an opportunity where we can help you, the more info that you can give to our team and George in this case specifically, the more that you help him in his process, because he needs to do less discovery, but it also means that the prospect, the customer, who always comes first, has a better experience. So if I just summarize what we've said, so basically a super complex kind of business case there from a company that you're also dealing with an SI. They're looking to connect or they're looking to re-platform and involve an ERP and a PIM into it. They're also looking to move quickly. So you immediately kind of recognized an opportunity to bring Patchworks in to help you achieve that sort of complexity and speed element to getting it across the line.
Also, their platform had that end of life, so they had to upgrade that as well. So that was really quite a pressurized timeline. Yeah. So actually going back to that point was crucial.
Okay, awesome. Right, let's move on to the second one then. So business number 2, because it's a little bit of a different, still some similar themes in there, but it's obviously a different business with different challenges and different pain points. So again, in the same sort of format, George, give us the overview to business number 2 and what they were looking for when you had that first initial conversation with them.
Yeah, so this is quite a bit different to the first one. So this is a business that is B2C, and there's also an element of B2B as well. A UK business in the gifting industry, so like hampers, things like that. This was actually a smaller part of their business, but they had 2 sites that just were not performing as they needed and as they thought. That means their conversion rates were very low. I noticed things that we could help with straight away. So they didn't have a one-page checkout, no Google Pay, no Apple Pay. So there were things that we could fix. But they had a particular system that was not very well known. It was kind of a legacy system, but a lot of their business was built around it. It was really their foundation, did a bit of accounting, ERP. It was really the foundation on that. So yeah, really the pain point around that particular area. Not too many people knew about it.
Were they kind of desperate to move off of this legacy platform, or did you have to do much kind of hard sell of getting them to move away? Because ultimately, if it's ingrained into their business operations and everything's built around it, were they ready to move?
They actually wanted to keep that solution for what it is actually built for, not for the e-commerce side. This needed to be completely changed. These websites were nowhere near performing how they should be. So that decision had been made and they needed a new platform.
And then systems wise, so what they were looking to plug into, what were those initial kind of red flags which made you think Patchworks at the start?
Yeah, so this is a solution that I've never heard of. I think they've got a few customers that don't have loads. So actually finding information about it was quite difficult. But actually one of the Big Commerce's enterprise customers, everybody will know who they are, was actually utilizing it for an element of their workflows and their tech stack. But when we tried to get some information from them, the person that did the integration from that organization side had actually left for another business. So there was not much information around it internally on that particular side. And then when we actually worked with the system integrator, one of our partners that actually did the build for that particular site, they actually had nothing to do with that integration. It was
so like the first instance was like your standard ERP, e-commerce PIM. We know that that's super possible within an integrations platform. That's like out of the box stuff. And in this case, where you've got a system that you've never heard of before, there's not a lot of information available online. You kind of were clutching at straws with trying to find a solution for this customer and trying to make it work.
So I just said to them, I think now the time is right to speak to Patchworks. I know they don't pretty have, like, they don't have too much information, but they will have some insight on it. And then, literally, they accepted it. It was, and then we were able to set up the meeting very quickly. I think within the day, your SC joined it, and then it just moved very quickly.
So this is a situation that not a lot of people know about Patchworks. It's a common misconception of that Patchworks is or iPads in general is a marketplace of pre-built integrations or pre-built connectors. And we've got the BigCommerce one, we've got the NetSuite one, we've got the InRiver or Akenio one, and you've got to just like basically plug and play. Whereas in this case, where the true power of an iPad comes in is where you need to connect to a platform that you've never heard of before. We, of course, have our marketplace where you guys sit at the top and where a bunch of brands plug into, but we've also got the connector builder where in the situation where it might be a random WMS, it might be a home-built CRM system. And in this case, it was something completely different, but it doesn't matter what it is, as long as we can access the endpoints to that particular system, then we can build a connector and then plug it into the rest of the system.
They were just looking for someone just to say confidently, this is the way it would be done, this is the way we would do it, we can execute, and we're ready to go. But we were just struggling to kind of get that answer from someone.
Yeah, and you found it in the end. And so you said they signed within a week, and where are they at now?
Yeah, they're just working through a few things with our, so they're working closely with our implementation project manager on our essay post-launch, post-signing, sorry. So they're just building now.
They're in the building phase.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, brilliant. Okay, awesome. So yeah, I think a little bit of a different one. That second one was we're a real focus on kind of a legacy system, a difficult that no one's really heard of. We want to keep it, but how do we plug it into a best of breed e-commerce solution like BigCommerce? And you ran through exactly how we do it. It doesn't need to be a standard out of the box connector for Patchworks to get involved. Any conversation, George, that you're having that a customer wants to keep a weird and wacky solution in their tech stack is 100% possible on Patchworks. So no longer do AEs need to be scared of conversations about those weird and wacky platforms, as long as you've got that partnership with Patchworks. So that's a really, really good one.
Maybe just the final point I'd say is around that weird and wacky, maybe what solutions you haven't heard of. I couldn't believe yet, literally a problem that was going on probably for a couple of weeks, back and forward, people trying to get some answers. We got it sorted within kind of 48 hours. It was that quick. So that particular use case, I'll be pushing. If that comes up again, I'll be saying, let's just get Patchworks in it as early as possible, so we know we can tick that off and then proceed from there.